Welcome back, friends, to this postscript. Hope that you are both enjoying the slightly warmer temperatures, but of course bundled up still because it's snowing. So we are certainly still in winter, but even a slight break in that bitter cold I welcome. And of course I welcome you into this month, which of course is Black History Month. It is a month of exciting programming. It is a month, hopefully, of some pretty deep reflections about where we're going. And this last Sunday, we decided to begin this month by looking at what I call entanglement. Now, there are many uses of that word, but drawing on 1 John, I tried to point out that in that passage, as well as other places in the biblical text, one's love of neighbor is really inseparable. We might conceptually distinguish it, but it is inseparable from the love of God. So, we cannot say we love God without fervent love of neighbor. That means expressing that love materially, showing up, being present, refusing to judge, figuring out a way to provide care. That is the truth of this passage from 1 John 5. I decided to go a bit beyond where the passage went, though, by incorporating indigenous wisdom. So the indigenous teachers in our midst who continue to share with anybody with ears to hear and hearts ready to receive, teach us that the love of Creator, or the love of God, is inseparable from the love of creation, from all our relations. And so really it's an amplification of the passage from 1 John, which centers us on love of sibling, of fellow sojourner, traveler on this world, on this planet. And so I thought that was an important piece to integrate, because where we're at now, partly as shown in the bitter cold, and the fact that this has been one of the coldest winters in 50 years, is the weakening of the polar vortex produced by climate change and other things. And so we are experiencing volatile or unpredictable temperatures in all seasons. And I believe, as many of us do, that this is our future. This is the path that we have created. And we are doing everything we can to mitigate the impact of these changes on the most vulnerable, and really on all of us who live here and seek to live in right relation. So, taking entanglement as our starting point, it would do us well to ask how we live out and bear witness to this entanglement. Right? How do we honor the entanglement? How do we allow others to see that our love of God is inseparable from our love of them and our care for the earth? How do we show up every day in all of our actions and interactions in our work? How does this entanglement show up there? Many of us have walked paths of increasing specialization and compartmentalization. And yet here we have a fundamental truth of entanglement that says there is no thing wholly separate from the others. In honor of Black History Month, of course, we could echo Dr. King, who himself was echoing previous generations of scholarship and poetry when he said that no man is an island. We, of course, extend that to say no human, no creature is an island. We live in a fragile web of interdependence. And I think 1 John, in its own time and place and in a particular idiom, tries to communicate that reality for us all. The question, of course, that I left us with at the close of service is what we will do. How will entanglement show up in the life of First St. Andrews in terms of our decision making? The steps going forward as we revision and lean into new visions of who we might be, who we could be, who we are called to be. And on a personal note, how are we being called in our own circles, which are numerous beyond FSA? How are we being called to show that entanglement? How are we being called to invite others into that same kind of awareness that I believe is necessary in order to take meaningful steps to healing the world? So I hope you were able to gain a bit from that reflection, from this postscript, from maybe one of the songs, the prayers that was said this last Sunday. Because of course, Black history and the liberation that we celebrate this month is an example of a time and place and a renewed call for that entanglement. The plight of any person struggling is all of our plight. We have to realize that their ability, whoever is being impinged upon, whoever's freedoms, whoever's lives are being threatened, it is a threat to all of us because we are all part of that web. So go this week, stay warm, reflect a bit more on that, and I look forward to seeing you next week.